Good morning, you guys. Okay, so taking a quick look here. First thing that pops out to me is this looks like a presentation and less like a magazine. So want to show you something, and I know this has been a little bit frustrating in terms of having to manage and move this stuff around. I know I talked about that in the exemplar that I just shared in the Remind app with all of you, but I want to say that I'm not looking for a presentation. I'm looking for a magazine. So if you, what you know about a magazine, right? When we think about a magazine, like I told you guys, y'all should pull up some examples, right? And take a look at what some magazines look like on the inside. Well, are we even going to find any here in this example? Okay, I just changed my search from magazine to magazines articles. I mean, just notice, so some of these have a lot of text. If there's a lot of text in your area, then you might need more or maybe a little less imagery. This example uses a whole page for an image and then another whole page for content. I'm not as big a fan of that. I really like more of this kind of concept where you're breaking it down into smaller chunks. It's more visually appealing to people. This is not bad here. So, you know, let's move away from this presentation look. It doesn't have to be this consistent theme throughout, like I see when someone starts talking about hypothermia. So that's just my initial feedback. I haven't gone through this yet, but let me also show you that from the file, hang on just one second. Okay, so from the file menu, you can come down to page setup and you can, you know, change your orientation, right? So if you say custom, and this one's a little bit different than doing it inside of Google. Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick, so like letter paper. And then if you say okay, then it orients everything, you know, that way. And then you can go back to page setup. And now, actually, let's see if that's going to help any. Let's just see what happens. Okay, do y'all see that? Now that turned that into pages, okay, by making that change there. And so if that helps you guys, I'm going to turn this back to the original. But if this is something that would help you guys, right, you would just kind of squeeze everything in. Now it's just a matter like here of just clicking and just, you know, bringing this in, right, and maybe altering the font. But I don't want to make changes because this is your project. I just wanted to show you. But this is not going to be what I'm looking for in terms of a magazine, okay? But I understand there's been lots of design issues. But y'all, this is really, I know it's been frustrating, but these are really great skills y'all are developing. You know, the ability to show that you can work together, work through struggles. You know, sometimes employers, one of the first thing they ask you is describe a time when you had a difficult situation in a group project, you know, and how did you handle it? And so what were the frustrations? So the number one, one of the number one things that employers want to know about future employees is how well do they work together. So you guys building this individual components of this project and then having to work together to make it look like a seamless magazine. I mean, that's something for you guys to be proud of. So I know it's a struggle. I know we don't always like the struggle. I get it, but you know, stick with this because there's more to it than maybe you understand at this moment in your development. So this color scheme, it's never good to use red. Red is only to like highlight certain things, like maybe your name as part of, you know, who wrote the article. This is very hard on the eyes. And I don't know who wrote this, you know, so you haven't said, you know, by, you know, Nikki Bray. So I don't know who's responsible for what. White is definitely easier with a colored background, but I don't want this to be just look like this presentation. And definitely not bullet points. We are talking conversational style. We're talking about small little articles, small little blurbs of content. And if you're going to say glycogen, a fifth grader is not going to know what that means. So what is glycogen and how do you explain it simplistically to a fifth grader? So you might have to do a little bit of digging on the internet and searching. All images must have citations, so you might down at the bottom say image credit colon and put the bit.ly or the tiny URL. Also, all your images must be clear. So if you start stretching them and they start becoming pixelated like you see here, that's going to dock points, okay? So again, while you guys have worked hard to go get content, make sure that all this work that is written is your own words. If it's not, you should be citing. All right, Willis, I don't know if any student in this class has ever used that word. Okay, so that right there tells me to check and see. And inside of the Turnitin system, it does that for me. I don't have to do the work, it does it for me. Okay, so if you're going to use images, this image is butter a carb, then you want to make sure that you're explaining in the writing. You know, if explaining that, is butter a carb? Why or why not? Okay, looks like this has changed authors here. Couldn't tell you who, don't know how I'm going to be able to assign this group credit because I need to know who has done what. So after you all review this, please go back and edit this, decide who's what before the next check-in. I will hold your points. When I grade your next check-in, I will come back and give you points for this. Or if y'all go ahead and turn it back in, we're just like a week and a half away from you having another check-in. I don't know what this picture right here has to do with what role does fatigue play. So there needs to be appropriate images, not just any kind of image, okay? And so if everybody else is going to use images like this, you know, you just got to be careful about going. I mean, this is not bad to use these kinds of images like these little stock photos here, but just be careful. And so where did you get this? If this is off of the slide, maybe it's not off the slide. Okay, I should say if it's off the slide, it's going to run off the page. So I'm not so sure that you guys are making the kind of progress. It looks like you've been just collating some information. This is a good start here, but it looks like it's just an image. It is. It's just an image that's been slapped over the top here. So you can't do that. You've got to create this stuff yourself. Unless you created this image, then you would need to let me know that. But the look and feel of this is just not very magazine-ish. And I haven't even gotten to the writing. So when I read it, like, sweating is one of the biggest challenges in dehydration. If you sweat a ton while working out, it's easy to become dehydrated because you lose so much water from the body at a faster pace than you are drinking. Really good conversation. Really like this here. It needs to be like a box. It needs to be highlighted. This is really important. Like a light sweater drinks like less than 1 liter. How much is a liter? Like, can you put an image, or can you help me to understand how much a liter is? You know, if you want to use a 2-liter bottle and maybe it's half, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You've got to put some time in to really explain it. And this needs to be written in written language. And then be careful, like this is a whole lot of text and it's really hard to see. You can tell this is pixelated. So you can tell y'all took a screenshot, maybe you took this from someone else's PowerPoint presentation and you copied and pasted it. Okay, you cannot do that. You have to use your own stuff. Okay, you have to create your own content. Still, I'm on the next to the last slide. Hadn't seen one person's name yet. Do not know who to give any credit to. Okay, again, you can't just take, if you have not created, I want to know you created this because I can click on stuff and I can tell. Otherwise, I can't tell, and I'm going to think that you haven't, like, dehydration can cause hypovolemia. What is that? Which means lower than normal blood volume, which is one of the main effects of dehydration. It's just grainy, you know. This image, same thing. It's a good image. It's just grainy. And I think that if you bring it into PowerPoint the right way, you save it as a PNG, bring it into PowerPoint, you can stretch it and it doesn't lose its form and it doesn't get pixelated like this is. But again, any images you use or any content that you use, you must cite your source. Now, you're using the textbook, right, primarily, but if you use something else, you definitely have to cite it. You might say somewhere in your paragraph or at the beginning of your work that, you know, the writing that you have, or that you're part of this magazine, or you might say it at the beginning of the magazine. this magazine was constructed around the content found in and then cite our book. Okay, I hope this helps. It's hard for me to really know, you know, I don't feel like y'all are as far along as I expect y'all to be this late in the game. We have less than a month. You have one more check-in. So take your time and watch this video carefully. Let me know if you have questions. I'm always happy to jump on a call with you guys too. I say that time and time again, and so few students ever take advantage of that. So if you want to jump on a call as a group and let's talk about it and get some ideas, I'm happy. If I've done a good job here of explaining stuff, then don't feel pressured to do that. I try to give y'all as much flexibility as I can. But I think you're on the right track. I just think you don't have enough completed with less than a month to go. And I don't know who's done what, so I can't give you guys any credit at this point, okay? All right, thanks so much, guys. I'm looking forward to, I know this next one, I feel like y'all will really start getting going here. So I'm not concerned at this point, but when I see the next iteration, if it's not a lot better, then I'm going to really be concerned. Okay, let me know if you have questions. All right, thanks, y'all.